Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Fight, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Fight 2. And hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. As you know, the Milwaukee Brewers tonight on Wednesday won their 70th game of the season. The first team to get to 70 wins, believe it or not. I can't believe it. And it's a team that's traded all their good players, all their name players in the last few years, and they've somehow had the best record in the National League, and they kind of running away with it. They were 4 games behind at one point behind the Cubs. Now they're way out front now. A couple weeks later, just incredible turnaround. And I would mention my New York Mets are going to be facing them this weekend. I'm a little nervous about it. The Mets have not played well in Milwaukee in quite a while. They did beat them in the playoffs last year, but they have not played well. I'm very concerned. But here's some Outkick. They go through this hot streak that the Brewers have been in. Brewers Devil Magic, question mark. This from Outkick. Milwaukee is running away with the National League somehow. Milwaukee leads MLB despite dealing Josh Hader, Corbin Burnes, and Devin Williams in recent seasons. Now, Burnes is out for the season with the Diamondbacks. Pitched great with the Orioles, and Devin Williams has been a complete bust with the New York Yankees. He really has been. I mean, really. He's not been the same since Pete Alonso hit the home run off him in the playoffs last year. How did the Milwaukee Brewers do? Well, it's funny you should ask. Seemingly every year, Milwaukee's right in the thick of the playoff race, despite running well below average payrolls, trading key players, or seeing stars leaving free agency. They traded Josh Hader at the 22 deadline to the Padres. After the 2023 season, they traded superstar starter Corbin Burnes to the Baltimore Orioles. After taking him to arbitration over a minimum amount of money. After the 2024 season, they flipped yet another star reliever, Devin Williams, to the New York Yankees. And he's the 2020 National League Rookie of the Year. And he's been a disaster. My God, disaster. They've done it season after season, eroding top-level talent for future value, controllable assets, and relying on a farm system and international scouting and signing department to replace who's left. It's worked. But it's never ever worked like it has in the Brewers' stunning 2025 season. I would mention that Dave Stearns is the guy that put that system in place. Through Tuesday's games, the Brewers had the best record in baseball by 2 full games. They're the best record in the National League by 2.5 games over the Los Angeles Dodgers. They swept the season series with LA, making it effectively a 3.5 game lead. They've opened up a 3-game lead over the Chicago Cubs. It's now a 4-game lead, and they have 70 wins. And out of nowhere, they now have the best run differential in Major League Baseball. It's insane. It's virtually inexplicable. But let's try it anyway. When Milwaukee lacks a true star hitter in 25, the team has made up for it by limiting the amount of holes on the roster. Jackson Trio has been an above-average offensive player. So has William Contreras, and Christian Yelich, and Bryce Terang, and Caleb Durbin, and Isaac Collins, and Rice Hoskins. And even Andrew Vaughn has been above average offensively since being picked up essentially nothing from the Chicago White Sox. The Brewers are also one of baseball's best defensive teams, adding more than 20 runs above average of defensive value, according to Fangraphs. The question is, how did they evaluate that those players would be at above average offensively this season? And the answer is they probably didn't. Trio was a former top prospect already producing MLB in his age 2021 season. Yelich is a former MVP. Contreras and Terang had displayed potential in the past, but Vaughn wasn't good enough to play for the historically bad White Sox. Caleb Durbin was raised organizational depth by most prospect evaluators, nowhere close to the top 100. Isaac Collins was acquired in the Rule 5 draft from the lowly Colorado Rockies for $22,000. He was ranked even lower than Durbin on the Brewers' top 50 preseason prospects. So is it just luck then? Well, not exactly. Even if Durbin and Collins fall back to their scouting reports, eventually the fact that the Brewers front office evaluate that these players could be useful Major League players, even for a short time, is remarkable. Whatever other teams missed, they saw. Had they been fortunate that both players had performed this well? Yes, of course. And it's unrealistic for it to continue, but they now bank that production, identified that there is a level of talent far beyond what outsiders predicted, and increase their value to other teams in a potential trade. It's a classic Brewers move, find value where others ignore it, and maximize it even through luck whatever potential exists. Then there's the pitching. Milwaukee's 3.63 team ERA ranks 4th in baseball, and unsurprisingly has wildly outperformed the advanced metrics. Thanks likely to defensive excellence and some more good luck, the 3.63 ERA is far below the expected 3.96 ERA. Will that continue? Maybe, maybe not. But again, the Brewers have banked their performance and moved ever closer to securing home field advantage throughout the playoffs and World Series. Quinn Priester is the poster child for the Brewers' remarkable renaissance. Red Sox gave up on him, flipping him to Milwaukee for Yofi Rodriguez and the 33rd overall draft pick. He had a 7.71 ERA in 50 innings in 2023, then a 4.71 ERA in 24 over 49 2/3 innings. This season, Priester has a 3.15 ERA in 114 1/3 innings and 11-2 record. A well below average strikeout rate and some batted ball luck imply he's overperformed. But again, Milwaukee saw something in a player that no other team did and took advantage of it. Superstar rookie Jacob Misiorowski frequently looks unhittable, although he's now injured. And Brandon Woodruff has managed to avoid any ill effects from missing most of the 23 season and all of 2024 of arm surgery. Despite losing 2 miles per hour on his fastball, his ERA due 5 starts is just 2.22, and he struck out 37 batters in 28 1/3 innings. As always with Milwaukee, he's benefited from an unsustainably low batting average on balls in play, though maybe it is sustainable if you play in the home with baseball devil magic, whatever that means. Put simply, Milwaukee has no business being this good. Andrew Vaughn went from a cast off to 11-18 OPS, hitting basically like peak Aaron Judge over 80 at-bats. Isaac Collins went from a Rule 5 pick to being the only qualified hitter of the Brewers with an OPS over 800. And it's 801. That the second highest batting average of runners in scoring position have taken advantage of bad ball luck and maximized it with top-tier defense. They shrugged off the loss of the bullpen arms and replaced him with Trevor McGill. That's the brother of Tyler McGill, who went from a 4.80 ERA in 2022, 2.72 in 24, and a 2.13 ERA in 2025. Whatever the Brewers touch turns to gold right now. I add that last part in. And has put them in prime position to shock the baseball world the rest of the season. Well, we'll see. This group has played really well in the season. It doesn't seem to matter who the manager is. But they have not done it in the postseason. Okay, they've had a lot of tough things happen to them. That Mets loss was pretty bad last year. And some teams are built for the season. A lot of times the Oakland Athletics were always built for the season and they couldn't do much in the postseason. And some teams are built for the postseason. So that we'll keep an eye on this. But I am concerned about my Mets playing them this weekend because they usually play pretty well against the Mets. And that's usually have no luck against them. So, other than the postseason last year, they haven't had a lot of luck, in particular in Milwaukee. But let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut 2, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2, and hopefully like this video and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to talk about the Minnesota Twins. Believe it or not, I'm going to talk about the Minnesota Twins here. Obviously, last week they basically unloaded a third of their team. Actually, almost half of their team got moved in trades before the trading deadline. The biggest trades was Johan Duran and, of course, Carlos Correa. Both got moved in trades that were very surprised, especially the Correa deal, because nobody had seen that coming. And they sent him back to Houston. And, of course, they also traded their setup man, Griffin Jacks, and they made so many moves, and this is from Outkeg, and a lot of teams in the majors were surprised by it. This is from Outkeg. Minnesota Twins' comprehensive sell-off stuns MLB teams with shocking trade deadline moves. Report confirms other MLB teams were stunned by the comprehensive nature of the Twins' deadline moves. Well, so many players left. The 2025 Major League Baseball trade deadline has come and gone. Several teams were active on the buying and selling side. San Diego Padres proved once again that they don't care much for prospects. With top shortstop Leo DeVries sent to the A's for Mason Miller, and 10 other young players were traded away to improve in 24. New York Mets and New York Yankees went for bullpen help, bringing in Ryan Helsley, Tyler Rogers, Gregory Soto, Jake Bird, who's been sent down to the minors, if you don't know, unbelievably, David Bednar, and Camilo Doval. The early returns for both teams have been disappointing to say the least. No team, though, was more active than the Minnesota Twins. The Twins up for sale as an organization trimmed salary and players in a wild, shocking period leading up to the deadline. And new reports confirmed that even other teams were stunned to see how comprehensive the Twins' sell-off was, as well as what it says about how front offices approach the modern game. And this was just a shock for everybody, to be honest with you. It's one thing you move a couple of players, they move pretty much everybody. And I think they would have traded Byron Buxton if they could, if he wasn't on the injured list for the millionth time. Bob Nightingale from USA Today spoke to several front office executives around baseball who were stunned at the scope and scale of the Twins' decision to sell. Quote, the deadline was going to be a complete dud, said one GM to Nightingale. What changed the entire deadline were the Twins selling. They said they were going to trade players on expiring contracts. They were going to revisit the other stuff in the winter. Then they started selling off everyone. They got rid of everybody. But I mean, no one expected them to do this. That everyone going everywhere. The trade deadline wouldn't have been nearly this active without the Twins doing what they did. Why did they do that? Well, it's funny you should ask. Because they could save money and make the team more attractive to sell. But according to Nightingale, Houston Astros owner Jim Crane spoke to the current owners, the Poland family, emphasizing the fact that prospective buyers would be significantly more interested if the current roster had less in the way of expensive contracts and future commitments. Plus, you get to move on. You don't want to get stuck with these older guys, which makes sense. Sure enough, after initially downplaying the possibility of Carlos Correa trade back to his original organization, Twins ownership told the front office to re-engage with Houston. A few hours later, Correa was moved on and back with the Astros with tens of millions of dollars in savings returned to Minnesota. They even traded inexpensive players like reliever Luis Varland, while only making basically the league minimum and under cheap team control for the foreseeable future. Was born and raised in the Minneapolis area, was flopped for first baseman Ty France. According to the report, rival front office was dumbfounded. The team's general manager, Derek Falvey, told reporters that there was baseball trades based around the real talent they received, not based on the financial flexibility component to it. Why did the Twins do this? Because front offices and ownerships have entirely removed the emotion and the value of wins over losses from the game. For better or worse, teams have realized that finishing 82 and 80 simply isn't meaningful relative to finishing 74 and 88. There's no point in being in the middle. The thinking goes. And it has merit. Saving money and improving future production is important. It also tells your fan that there's no point in showing up. That money comes first, not the marginal value in winning. That the business side of the organization comes before the competitive side. Homegrown talent is meaningful compared to contract status. It is a disheartening view of baseball, though it's rapidly becoming the most prevalent one. The 2025 trade deadline proved that once and for all. I don't know about that. But, the biggest thing in this article is the fact that they're going to have a new owner. And it makes sense to move all these contracts and players that are close. That's going to cost them money. And they can just start fresh. The new ownership can come in there and start fresh. They can bring in the new players, and have their own system put in. The Pollard family's owned this team for 60 years. They've owned it forever, and obviously they didn't want to keep the team. They wanted to move on. And that's that. And that's the story. Now, hopefully you like this video, and we'll have more stuff on everybody, every day in the major leagues. Not just the New York Yankees, but everybody. So thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Head. The amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball Head 2, and hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. So this is I'm a Mets fan, as you can tell, but this is my second channel. Now it's called Baseball Head 2, so it must be a Baseball Hut, which is where I talk about the Mets primarily. But on the Baseball Hut 2, I talk about anything. Right now, one of the most hottest things to talk about on YouTube are the Yankees. Now, I understand the Mets have played poorly as well. And it's going to be very knit and tuck and tight to get to the postseason for both teams. But I like to talk about the Yankees. I like making fun of the Yankee fans. And it helps YouTube, get pretty decent views on here. So if some Yankee fans don't like it, too bad. Too bad. You got to get over it. Because you're not censoring me. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep hitting them and hitting them and hitting them. Now, as I do this video, as I record this video, at almost 10:30 at night, Eastern Standard Time, the Yankees are losing 2-0. I will say this: Devin Williams, he's not been the same since Pete Alonso hit the home run against him. He just just coughed up another game for them. We'll see how this game finishes. Right now he's in the middle of a mess there. But obviously there's a big problem with the Yankees. And in fact, earlier today, they optioned Jake Bird, the guy they picked up from the Rockies last week at the trade deadline. They made such a big deal about it. Here's a little bit of what MLB Trade Room said. The Yankees have optioned right-hander Jake Bird to AAA, according to a team announcement. Corresponding move has not yet been announced, though ESPN's Jorge Castillo notes that right-hander Mark Leiter Jr. is expected back from the injured list today and take Bird's roster spot. Now, his ERA for the season with the Rockies was 4.79. His ERA with the Yankees has been 27. What? You heard me. 27.00. He has pitched terribly. And to see them so quickly send this guy down to the minor leagues, it tells you how poorly they played since they made those deals. They've not won a game since the trading deadline. And they're all fighting with each other. The media is going back and forth with the manager. We know that A-Rod and Derek Jeter have been critical of the team. We know that the media, I've been critical. I've just been having fun just talking about them and stuff. But, the media is really ripping into them pretty hard. And now there's calls of him getting fired. Him is Aaron Boone, the manager of the Yankees. Now, he's been a manager of the Yankees for a long time now, since 2018. He was a guy that came from the broadcast booth. He's done a good job here. But you get the sense that I think maybe he's getting tired of the nonsense, tired of the questions. He got snippy with John Boy last week. John Boy O'Brien. I don't know why you would get snippy with O'Brien. He's a lightweight. And he kind of and O'Brien didn't know how to handle it. He was a little nervous about him. I guess there's a little tension there today because they had this sort of show, every Tuesday that's affiliated with the Yes Network. And then, I will mention this about John Boy. Better watch your staff. Because if I find out any more about the nonsense of them ripping into players and really attacking players in a terrible way, I have a video I can do at any point. So, and that got swept away pretty quick. If you want, been paying attention, that whole situation with the producer going after Freddie Freeman, or George Springer, that got swept away pretty quick. And people forgot about it. But here we have from Awful Announcing and WFAN, which I don't have a crazy part for WFAN today. But Evan Roberts he's calling for the Yankees to fire Aaron Boone. And his partner today, the Spud, Sean Marash, who looks and sounds like a Spud. And, well, he's calling for the firing of Brian Cashman. Now, like I said, Aaron Boone has been with the Yankees a long time now. And sometimes, when you're in a place for a long time, the team will, whatever team it is, they'll start to ignore you. You just become part of the furniture. Here's the headline from Awful Announcing. WFAN's Evan Roberts calls for playoff-bound Yankees to fire manager Aaron Boone. Quote, I watch bullpen mismanagement. I watch bad defense. I watch heads-up-your-ass baseball. Oh, boy. It's August in New York, which means it's the perfect time for WFAN to call for the job of Yankees manager Aaron Boone. And it's funny when they mention that. They know that this is a pattern with the Yankees. With the WFAN, the fire people. The Yankees fresh on. I would mention this. If you're a New York Knicks fan, they were calling for the firing of Tom Thibodeau pretty much all season, or tiptoeing around it. And then when the Knicks finally fired him, they're like, why'd you do that? That's how WFAN is. When they were demanding that the Mets fire Buck Showalter 2 years ago, outright demanding it for 2 months, 3 months, then they finally did, why'd you fire him? This is what they do. They will say to fire Aaron Boone, and then once he does get fired after the season, he'll get fired after the season if this doesn't turn around. Then they'll be like, why'd you do that? What's the matter with you? He's a great man. That's what they'll say. It's not his fault. I would mention that tonight, Horseface is in the lineup and they have no runs scored. Bad, pretty bad. They're taking out. They brought in Mark Leiter Jr. now to pitch to Ozuna. I don't know who that is. The Yankees finish off their first AL pennant since 2009. We're 10-1 to win the World Series heading into the season. They've not exactly made good on the astronomical expectations. Here in the first full week of August, they sit at 60-53. The team is sitting in the second wildcard spot at 5.5 games out of the AL East. That all led WFAN afternoon host Evan Roberts. He might be the most sanest person at the radio station. Come to the conclusion that the Yankees need to fire manager Aaron Boone. Quote, I watch bullpen mismanagement. I watch bad defense. I watch heads up your ass baseball. Roberts ranted on Tuesday. The more I've watched, the more angry I get. And so the only solution I can offer to the Yankees fan out there is they got to fire the manager. And Aaron, if you're listening, it's not personal. It's only business. It's business. Because firing the manager sparks teams. Not necessarily. I don't necessarily believe that. It depends. I think you're so far into the season. I don't think it's appropriate right now. I just don't. If they were going to do that, they should have done it back in June. Because then it gives your team time to adjust to it. I don't think today, right now, is the appropriate time. I think you just go with what you got. Well, the Yankees do intend to ride out their rosters and have been fiercely loyal to Aaron Boone for 8 seasons. New York just acquired 3 relief pitchers at the MLB trade line, as well as a new third baseman. Yet those moves gave way to a sweep at the hands of the Miami Marlins over the weekend, a dismal showing against a mediocre small market team. But they played really well. Facing championship expectations on a perennial basis, the Yankees are always expected to take big swings. And now Roberts believes it's finally time for New York to fire Boone, every fan's favorite punching bag. I got a relative that's a Yankee fan. He hates Aaron Boone. He hates him. However, Co-Spud, I said, bro, there's Co-Spud. No. Some would say co-host. Co-Spud. Sean Marash isn't convinced. He is the messenger boy for the Yankee organization, unfortunately, the Spud retorted. And the message to that Yankee team and that Yankee roster is if somebody messes up, F's up, nothing matters. Nothing gets held in an accountable fashion. With just 2 championships this century and a diminished core around reigning AL MVP and Triple Crown winner, being, the Belmont, the Preakness, and of course, Kentucky Derby. No, I'm just joking. The Yankees are in a strange place. Firing Boone likely won't change much, but New York fans won't be patient enough to wait around for the next great Yankees team without further changes. I think the pretty much obvious thing here, and the easiest and most, the most popular thing that people have said is that if George were alive, heads would roll. Brian Cashman would have been gone a long time ago. Aaron Boone would have been gone a long time ago. A good portion of these players. Anthony Volpe would have been gone. Okay. The Yankees have made some big mistakes over the last few years. It started with them trading for Giancarlo Stanton from the Marlins, because the money that they have spent on him all these years has not been put in the right place. He's been injured most of the time. He's a great hitter. He's a great player. But he's been unhealthy the whole time that he's been here for the most part. When he's played great. And the other thing that they did, which I really thought the Yankees could have, they need another left-handed hitter in this line, but I thought they should have signed Corey Seager after the 2021 season, whatever it was. When all the great shortstops were out on the market, because they needed a shortstop. They need an established guy. He was a winning player. He's got obviously 2 MVPs in the World Series, so he's a winner. And they don't have too many players like that on the roster. And I thought that was a move that they needed to make. They didn't do that, and it's costing them. You cannot have a weak position at shortstop. Okay, that shortstop position, unless the other players on the infield are great and you have a great catcher, you can't go short at shortstop. No pun intended. You have to have a great player. You have to have a great player there. As the Rangers just turned a double play on a Corey Seager ball hit to his right. You have a great shortstop. You have a great chance to play well and a great chance to win. And they don't have that. And that brings your whole team together. But like I said, you have great players in other positions on the infield and behind the plate. You can compensate for that. And the Yankees didn't do that. That was a very big thing that they didn't do. Stanton didn't even run hard. Wow. So that's another thing as well. When you have Stanton there who can't play the field, he can't move, he can't run, all he can do is hit home runs, and you don't have a shortstop that is any good, you're not going to win. And no matter what Aaron Judge does, it's not going to matter at this point. Now, you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, more videos on the Yankees and their plight. Right now, they got 2 outs here. And this is a pretty bad situation that the Yankees are in right now. They're going to get swept again, I guess. Or they lose the first 2 games, first 2 games in Texas. Boy, oh boy. 0-5 after the trading deadline. Let's see. Oh. And you got Phil Maton out there. Boy, oh boy. They're really in a bad way. But I don't think firing the manager is really going to help at this point. Just ride it out. I think it's too disruptive this late in the season to do that, in my opinion. Now, I am a Met fan. Again, don't get grumpy by hearing a different perspective. I understand the Mets aren't playing well, but I can still talk about the Yankees. And I know people like the video. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully you hit the subscribe button. And I've been doing videos a long time. Sometimes you get screwed up. Anyway, hit the subscribe button. New York Yankees. Right now they're winning 5-4 against the Rangers. And of course, I've been chronicling their struggles the last 2 days. Now, all's fair in love and war. You know, I'm a Met fan. I'll talk about everything, anything when it comes to baseball. So to sort of talk about it, I'm going to keep talking about it because people like it, people watching. But the Yankees are struggling. And I know my Mets are struggling, but they're going to find a way to get through this. But Michael K, or Michael Not Okay, as he's nicknamed here at the Baseball Hut, is very thin-skinned. And even the fans that like him, they get under his skin. He said he's from the streets. I don't know what streets he's talking about. At 65 years old, I don't know why he wants to fight everybody, but he's always fighting everybody. Now he's fighting his own fans. You know. He'll fight this one, he'll fight that one, he'll fight the Blue Jays. Then he'll back off and then beg Don Mattingly. Now, the Yankees have been struggling really poorly. They had a terrible series against the Marlins. Now, I didn't realize this against the Marlins. But the Marlins are the only team in Major League Baseball history that has an actual winning record against the Yankees. How's that possible? And this is regular season. And amazingly enough, the Yankees got swept by the Marlins this past weekend. Just a brutal weekend. Just a brutal weekend. But this from awful announcing. K, like I said, he's not okay. He's just not okay. Michael K insists he calls games down the middle. Yankees fans don't like it. It almost seems like it makes you more of an outlier. What he means by that. Michael K might benefit when the Yankees win, but he says that won't stop him from calling a game without bias. K put that theory to the test this past weekend when the Yankees were swept by the Miami Marlins in South Florida. Friday night, the Yankees blew a 9-4 lead to Miami. The big blow coming on a grand slam by Marlins outfielder Kyle Stowers. After the game, Marlins broadcaster Steven Strom knows K called that grand slam with excitement, despite it coming against the Yankees. Quote, "You want to be fair to everybody. You want to be fair to the business," Case told Strom. "It almost seems like it makes you more of an outlier because around baseball you see an opposing team hits a home run and the guy just talks it through. And I could never be like that. But to tell you the truth, on social media, Yankee fans don't like it. They don't like it at all. Why are you getting excited? I get excited for the game of baseball. So if somebody threw a no-hitter against the Yankees, I'd get excited." He credited his background as a journalist. This is journalism. For his ability to call the game without bias, he also credited his former radio partner and attention hog, John Sterling. Really, that might come as a surprise. Instead, Sterling absolutely came across the Yankee homer throughout his iconic tenure in the booth. But as a Yankee fan, it didn't stop Sterling from meeting the moment when it was big for the opposition, as heard in his call of the Arizona Diamondbacks winning the World Series in 2001. That bullshit. He wasn't happy. Kay admitted his heart leans toward the Yankees because it's better for business and better for the Yes Network. But Kay's heart also leans toward the Yankees because he grew up rooting for them. He also is a show for them. He also sends a message, especially, particularly, like I said about Juan Soto. And there should be no shame in acknowledging that fandom. Fans want some semblance of homerism from their local announcers. Just ask Joe Buck. That shouldn't preclude an announcer from having energy when the opposition does something big. But Kay seems to be treating homerism from local baseball announcers like a negative, and it's not. Well, he's a negative. He's he's admitted that he's extremely thin-skinned. And I don't know what he's citing. Nobody ever says that he's a non-homer. You know, I mean, you want to be honest. I mean, I will say this: he does call it down the middle. I don't think that's a big deal. I think he's very fair, just in terms of. I mean, we goof on him here at the HUD when it comes to Juan Soto. But that's a different story because Soto's not with the Yankees anymore. And I felt for a while that the Yankees behind the scenes are probably pitching and moaning about Soto for the last almost year now since he left. But Kay is pretty fair, you know. I mean, I have to be honest with you. Gary Cohen is very fair with the Mets. Howie Rose, when the Mets don't play well, you hear from them. I don't know how John Sterling was on the radio. I never listened to him. I only heard those attention-hogged clips that they would play on replay in the morning on Imus or later on with Mike and the Mad Dog. But I don't know how he was. He was a bit of in my opinion, a jerk. But you know, Kay is a jerk. We know that. He's not. He's a guy who doesn't. You're not gonna have a drink with him after the game. Let's leave it at that. He doesn't come across like that. You're gonna have a beer with him. But he's fair. I mean, he's down the middle. To be honest with you, I don't know why it's bothering him that the Yankee fans think that way. I don't know what Yankee fans he's talking about. I never hear any Yankee fans complain about him, to be honest with you. I think his home run call is pretty lame. I think there's no, and it's got energy to it, but it's just, there's no creativity to it. It's not, it's about as simple as it gets. It's pretty boring. Just the actual words, it's see ya. It's just, it's lazy, in my opinion. He's trying to be cute, trying to be simple, but sometimes it doesn't come across that way sometimes. I don't know. Maybe it's just me as a Met fan, but you let me know what you think about this video. And of course, we'll have more stuff on the Yankees. You want to hit the subscribe button. Of course, watch the length of this video. I have so many videos on the Yankees, making fun of them. I mean, goofing on them. I mean, talking about them. And of course, I think you'll like it. I would mention, as a Met fan, show respect to your host. Show respect to everybody in here. Don't talk down to me. It's somebody talking down to me about Terrell Strawberry earlier. There's no reason to talk like that. Right? Well, thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2, and I'll see you later. All right, everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So, I wasn't home most of the day. I did watch part of the Met game. Ugh. But there's really nothing much to say there. Just bad pitching and not a lot of offense. And just lost 2 out of 3 to the Giants. But it's not as bad of a situation as the Yankees are in. The Yankees are now in third place behind the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. And they are sinking and sinking very quickly in the American League wild card and in the American League East at this rate. Now, I've done a lot of videos on the Yankees the last few days. They've brought in a lot of subscribers, brought a lot of people here. So I thank you for watching. A couple of things before we get into this video. I'm going to keep talking about the Yankees, okay? So Yankee fans that get all twisted, too bad. One has nothing to do with me. The Mets not playing as well as they should. Has nothing to do with me not talking about it. You're not going to censor your host under any circumstances. I put some guy in his place the other day because I think he wanted to shut me up. I'm not going to be quiet. So, no one's telling me to watch, but I'll leave it at that. But Derek Jeter had a lot to say about the Yankees, as well as Alex Rodriguez, because the Yankees had a horrible weekend. Had a horrible weekend. Get swept by the Marlins in Miami at historic levels. The Marlins have been around for 30 years. They never swept the Yankees in a 3-game series or more. Ever. Ever. This is now the second time in the last month where the Yankees have gotten swept in a historical way, and everyone's taking notice of this. Obviously, on Friday, they lost an extra inning, or the ninth inning. All kinds of mistakes, all kinds of errors, bad bullpen work by guys that they just brought in, an error in the outfield by a guy they just brought in, and they just looked terrible. They had a 6-run lead in that game Friday, and they had a 5-run lead later on in the game. They blew the lead, and they lost 12-11. Saturday, they had nothing. They lost 2-0. And then on Sunday, they lost 7-3 again to the Marlins. And the Marlins rubbed some salt in the wound at the end of the game. But this is not going unnoticed by the Yankees themselves, the old Yankees and Derek Jeter, because they had the Speedway Classic on Fox, but they had a lot of downtime waiting for the rain to stop. It never stopped. But they had a lot to say. Jeter and Alex Rodriguez. This is from Awful Announcing. Derek Jeter to Yankees. If you don't play better, you're not going to go very far. Well, no kidding. Duh. Quote, they make way too many mistakes. That's right. If you make a lot of mistakes in the field, fundamentally on the bases, and they're a terrible base running team. Terrible. They won a game during the week at home where it was a terrible base running mistake, and it could have cost them a game during the week, but it didn't. The New York Yankees follow up their worst loss of the year on Friday with a 2-0 loss on Saturday. It featured brutal base running and manager Aaron Boone having a heated exchange with the first base coach. Also, Chaz Chisholm was basically a potted plant during the play. Just was watching him play, thinking that the second baseman was going to drop the ball, and he didn't do that. And I don't know what the hell he was doing, and there was no accountability. That's really the biggest issue here. And then after the inning was over, Boone took Chisholm into the tunnel, and then later on, a little while later, started screaming at the first base coach, which is unusual to see. You don't normally see that kind of stuff. So that was meant to somebody said that was all planned. Bullshit. That's not planned. Ahead of Saturday night's MLB Speedway Classic broadcast, Yankee legend and current Fox analyst Derek Jeter was asked to offer his opinion and thoughts on the team. And Jeter, to his credit, said this. Made it very clear the Yankees make way too many mistakes to be a viable title contender at the moment. You ain't kidding. You're not kidding. Not kidding. Really. The thing that's concerning, they make way too many mistakes. Jeter said. Way too many mistakes. You can't get away making that number of mistakes against great teams. It just doesn't happen. They had a base running mistake today. That's the Chisholm mistake. We saw that guy get thrown out at home plate. You can't continue to do it. You have to clean it up. I mean, it's that simple. There's no excuse. There's no excuses. You have to play better. If you don't play better, you're not going to go very far. Ain't that the truth? After being 17 games over 500, entering June 13th, the Yankees are now 9 games over 500 and in third place, 4.5 games behind the first place Toronto Blue Jays in the American League East. Despite the recent struggles, FanGraphs projections still give the Yankees the highest odds among AL teams to win the World Series. I think that's starting to drop. That is certainly starting to drop. Now this got back this got back to Boone. I guess after the game, I guess, or maybe before the game, I don't know. But there's also things said by A-Rod. This is from SI.com. Yankees manager Aaron Boone responds to heavy criticism from Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez. Now, don't forget that Alex Rodriguez was a great player for a long time. He's one of the best players in the game, and he has a ring. So he's been to the mountaintop. Aaron Boone has responded to the harsh assessments levied on his team by 2 former New York Yankees veterans. On Fox's pregame show before Saturday night's Speedway Classic, the panel discussed the Yankees' recent struggles. Jeter and Alex Rodriguez were harsh in their assessments of the current roster and its manager. They didn't hold back. You know, these guys don't have any... And I would mention Jeter was his teammate. Let me read you this. They make way too many mistakes. I said that. It's from Jeter. And you can't get away with making that number of mistakes against great teams. It just doesn't happen. They had base running mistakes today. You saw Grissom getting thrown at home plate. You can't continue to do it. You have to clean it up. A-Rod similarly said the team makes too many mistakes and there doesn't seem to be consequences for them. Quote, if any one of us made a mistake, we would be sitting our butt right on the bench, A-Rod said. I see mistake after mistake and there's no consequences. He's right about that. Because Chisholm should have gotten taken out of the game. You know. When asked about those comments, Boone accepted the criticism and said it comes with the territory of being the team's manager. Look, with the Yankees, when we lose games, if it's in and around the mistake, that criticism is fair game. And at the end of the day, we have all the pieces to be a really good team. That's on me and all of us to get the most out of that. He did say he disagreed with A-Rod's characterization of there being no accountability, but that there was no excuses, results, or all that matter. It's true. And that's really what it comes down to. You're not seeing any consequences here of the bad play. And this has gone on for a few years now. This is not, if you're a Yankee fan, I know that many Yankee fans, a lot of Yankee fans are very uptight by how they play. They play, they make all kinds of mistakes on the field. They're bad base running team. They make a lot of errors when you're not supposed to make errors. And it's not just so much errors, it's just errors that don't need to be made. Okay? Throwing to the wrong base, when you should be making the play simpler. They don't keep it simple. And when you don't keep it simple, then you complicate things. It's a mess. And then you see this sort of dogging it and just not in the game. Like this play by Chisholm, his head wasn't in the game, if you saw it. That's the problem with that. There's no excuses for people making mistakes. I mean, you can make a physical mistake, that's fine. But when you're making mental mistakes, and Chisholm's, gaff, that's a mental mistake. That you can't be making those kinds of mistakes. Okay? If you're going to make a mistake, make sure that you play hard, play smart, and that's it. But that's not the problem. But here's the funny thing, is that the Marlins, because it's the first time they ever swept them in a 3-game series, well, they made fun of the Yankees. And since they made fun of the Yankees, I'm going to laugh about it. And here's Outkick.com. Marlins make history with Yankees sweep. New York plays with Sweet Caroline. On cue calls for Yankees manager Aaron Boone to lose his job, spread on social media. For the first time in franchise history, the Miami Marlins swept the New York Yankees. On the verge of their historic win on Sunday, the Marlins borrowed Fenway Park's anti-Yankees anthem as they closed out the 3-game series. Now, I don't know the reference. You'd have to tell me in the comment section what the reference is about. The DJ at Lone Depot Park played Sweet Caroline at the start of the 9th inning, heaping salt on a wound for the Yankees, who continued their post-All-Star break slide. Miami secured a 7-3 win at home and had the added bonus of watching Yankee fans who always travel well head for the exits early. It was a weighty win in several ways for the Marlins. Miami reached 500 for the first time since April and spoiled a long-awaited return to the bump for Yankees pitcher Luis Hill, the reigning AL Rookie of the Year. Now, supposedly, Aaron Judge is supposed to come back. A week of sloppy errors from players like Anthony Volpe and Jazz Chisholm Jr. has frayed Yankees fans' patience with Aaron Boone's team to erase the thin edge. Speaking to the media after Sunday's loss to the Marlins and giving that franchise their first sweep of the Yankees, Boone called it a gut check time. Gut check. You gotta add some. This is like a cojones check. And of course, the Yankee fans have been so frazzled. I mentioned in a video before, the last video, about Juan Soto. Everything with the Yankees is upside down in terms of how they react to things. Everything's totally over the board. Total overreaction. Ever since they lost Soto, they've been sort of totally out of sorts. And this is the same situation. I thought the way they reacted on Friday was just ridiculous. And it's funny as hell, as a Met fan. Now, I see that on this side. They always act like this. You get used to it. But to see the Yankee fans get so rattled and so uptight, it's just wonderful. Warms my heart. Believe me, I have a heart. And it's laughing its ass off right now watching this. But You let me know what you think about this video, and I'll keep doing videos on the Yankees slide. This is a lot of fun. And, of course, I have every right to do it if I want to or I don't want to. So it's simple as that. But thank you for watching this video. Of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 2. I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, the Hut. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And hopefully like this video and hit that subscribe button. So the Yankees lost again. Lost again, 2-0 to the Marlins. Now, the Marlins lead their record right now is 54-59, something like that. And they played really well. So let's not take away how well they played. And they didn't trade their pitching to anybody. You know, Alcantara's still there. Yuri Perez is still there. Edward Cabrera's still there. So their pitching is still intact. So if they want to make a run at a wild card, they can do that right now. So just keep that in mind that the opponent isn't nearly as pathetic as it looks on the surface. But the Yankees aren't supposed to lose games the way they've been losing. Now, last night they played a game against the Marlins. They were up 6-0. They were up 9-4. Every player that they picked up before the July 31st deadline on Thursday all had a role in the loss. All the pitching blew up, and of course, one of their position players, Caballeros, made a crucial error late in the game. David Bednar pitched terrible. Bird pitched terrible. They all did a terrible, terrible job. And today, and it was just the Yankee fans were beside themselves. The Yankee broadcasters were beside themselves. They did a video earlier talking about Michael not okay, and of course Paul O'Neill, just absolutely beside themselves on Friday. Cannot believe how the Yankees lost that game. Well, the Yankees are not a very good, fundamentally sound team. They don't play good defense on a consistent basis. They don't run the base paths well, and unless they get horse face, Aaron Judge to hit home runs and drive runs in, that offense is very comes and goes. Now, the offense has not been bad other than today, but things are starting to get really bad. And Chaz Chisholm Jr. is finding himself in a very peculiar position where he made a terrible base running. He just wasn't paying attention. He said, after the game, they asked him, did you change anything different? He's like, no. So his attitude about he thinks that he's going to be sneaky on a pop fly. I guess that they didn't call infield fly rule on that play, but still, base runner runs at their own risk. Everybody knows that. And he got thrown out at first on a pop-up. On a pop-up to the infield, a pop-up to the second baseman. And the Yankee broadcast and Yankee manager, Aaron Boone, blew a gasket, especially Boone, especially at the coaching staff. I don't know what he said in the clubhouse, because they didn't show that, what he said to Chisholm, because he took him down into the tunnel. Probably read him the riot act. But this from Awful Announcing. Yes Network, all over the Yankees base running blunder, heated Aaron Boone exchange. Quote, that's about as heated as I've seen Aaron Boone in the dugout when talking to a coach. Very rarely do you see managers screaming at coaches, especially in baseball or any sport. Well, maybe football you see it, but you never see it in baseball. Never, ever, ever. One day after the New York Yankees suffered the worst loss of the year and a meltdown against the Miami Marlins, the Yankees were shut out 2-0 by the Marlins that had a brutal base running blunder. In addition to plenty of questioning from announcers Michael Not Okay and Paul O'Neill, the Yes Network broadcast showed Yankees manager Aaron Boone express his frustration in the dugout on Saturday. Now, as you know, Aaron Boone likes to get thrown out of games. He's probably going to someday challenge Bobby Cox's record of getting thrown out. Maybe by next year, I will say this, it was nice of Aaron to allow Carlos Mendoza to get his internship every time he got thrown out of a game. He basically interned for like 20-something games as manager of the Yankees. Gave him a real preparation there in AAA, up there in the Bronx. As you know, the Yankees are the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets, unofficially since the Mets took in Juan Soto. And I would mention about Juan Soto, he will hit with men in scoring position, and he will have a big hit late in the season. Guaranteed out. With one out in the top of the fifth inning, The Yankees' Paul Goldschmidt hit a routine pop-up to second baseman Xavier Edwards, or it turned into an inning-ending play, a double play, thanks to base runner Chaz Chisholm Jr. being too far off first base and Edwards alertly making a quick throw to double him off. How did he make the All-Star team, by the way? A stunned K asked, what was Chisholm thinking? This is as they went to commercial. O'Neill followed with, what's going on? And it really devolved very quickly. An inning later, the Yes Network broadcast showed Boone in the dugout asking Chisholm to follow him down to the runway to have a conversation about the gaffe. That was pretty brutal. You didn't see him screaming at him, finding what happened. I'm sure he screamed at him. And a conversation that wasn't private, Yes Network later showed Boone having a heated exchange with first base coach Travis Chapman. Now, the first base coach may not seem like it's a very important job, but he's usually there as sort of the voice of the player at first, to tell him where that ball is. And I'm sure he was telling him to go back to first instead of trying to he was just too far off. Quote, Aaron Boone is trying to address everything, and here he is with Travis Chapman, the first base coach, and he seems heated and talking to Chapman. Not okay, said. I always have to wonder, Paul, when do you blame the players and when do you blame the coaches? Shouldn't the player not do that too? I'm not defending Chapman here. I understand what Boone's doing, but when are the players culpable? Quote, I think the players are the ones to blame, O'Neill responded. But the first base coach and the third base coach, they do have a job. At that point, you're screaming, get back, get back, get back. So you know what? There's blame on both parts. O'Neill and Not Okay then talked about the rare visible frustration from Boone. Quote, that's about as heated as I've seen Aaron Boone in the dugout when talking to a coach, O'Neill said, to what Kay agreed. Because, to be brutally honest, you don't know where it ends. Players fall, coaches fall, managers fall. But when it continues to happen, it's not reflecting well on Boone, Not Okay said. So obviously he's getting hot about it. Fundamentals of the game are taught in spring training, and there are certain things the managers are very responsible for, O'Neill said. And base running is one of them. Now, and of course the first base coach. The New York Mets have a very good first base coach, Antoine Richardson. The Mets have gone 30 steals in a row without getting thrown out. You wouldn't think the Mets steal a lot of bases. They're not. But they're successful. Like over almost 90% of the time, they're successful. And that's the hard work he's putting in. This Travis Chapman, what is he doing there? What is he doing there first? And what is he telling them? The frustration from Boone, the team, and the New York media will only increase if the hopeful Yankees don't start playing better baseball soon. The Yankees have fallen to third place in the AL East and are 4.5 games behind the first place Toronto Blue Jays. You remember them? Not okay? He said they weren't a first place team. Well, the Yankees aren't a first place team either. They've not played like that, and obviously Aaron Judge is not back yet. I guess Aaron Judge has another week to go, and then he's going to go on, I guess, on a rehab assignment if he's able to recover from this elbow situation that he has. But this situation with the Yankees, it is wonderful to watch. It's great, As a Mets fan, as the first place Mets, it's been a long time coming, and we want to continue to see this. And the frustration of the broadcasters, and the frustration of the fans, and the screaming, and the sort of anxiety, and the melting down. It's wonderful to watch. It's just terrific. And the fact that the Red Sox seemed kind of like they were dead in the water about 2 months ago, are in front of them, it's another thing. That's also what irked them as well. The Yankee fans and the Yankee broadcasters have not really been the same, particularly Michael Not Okay. He has not been okay since, of course, the great Juan Soto signed with the Mets. They've not been the same, and you can see it. Ever since that, it's like almost they've been traumatized. PTSD. Completely, totally traumatized due to the fact that Soto was gone, and they're acting like it online. I've seen all kinds of YouTubers and streamers and their reaction to games, and the reaction to that game on Friday was just unbelievably hysterically funny. And to see celebrities like Nick Totoro having his meltdown on X yesterday, it's just beautiful to watch it. I blow kisses to them because I think it's just great. Keep it coming. But it's all due to the Yankees' poor play. They don't play fundamentally sound baseball. Okay, they're a very poorly constructed team, even now. Okay, the biggest issue and the biggest problem with that team was that years ago they made that trade for Giancarlo Stanton. Ever since they made that trade in particular, which made no sense at the time, it seems like that move has hamstrung them in a lot of ways to where they can't get out of their own way. And of course, there is not this sort of big bear there to poke them and to push them and to prod them like they used to have with George Steinbrenner. You hate to keep bringing that up, but the Steinbrenner family did not have the drive for excellence that the old man had. The old man didn't care how much money he spent. He didn't care what he had to do to get a win. And it didn't matter if it was a win in spring training, there was a win in April, May, June, or in October. He did whatever he had to do to get wins for his team. And if they played like that, first of all, if the Yankees had been playing like this for all these years, where they didn't make the World Series, Aaron Boone would have gotten fired a long time ago. Brian Cashman would have gotten fired too a long time ago. This would not continue on to this day. Even the older George would not have put up with us. He wouldn't have put up with us, not at all. And they would have had a very difficult time keeping him down, keeping that anger down. But he's not here anymore. He is, God rest his soul, somewhere else, in a better place. But he's not happy right now, I can tell you that. But if you like more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. I shoot it straight here. I also like to poke the bear a little bit, and Neo Yankee fans, and I like doing that. And hopefully you like that too. And please hit the subscribe button, very important. And once you're tired of this video, I should have told you at the beginning of the video. And of course, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you later. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Fight, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. So, we had some really strange games over the last couple of days. Tons of runs being scored on a lot of games. There was a game in Colorado. It was just insane. I guess the Pirates scored like 9 runs in the first inning, and it lost. It lost. There was another game where it was the Reds versus the Braves. Where it was 16 runs were scored in the 8th inning, and the Braves were up by 8 runs, and then the Reds scored 8 runs on Thursday, and then the Braves won in extra innings, which was unbelievable. And then obviously, like I said, Friday was just an insane game. Now the Mets lost on Friday. Unfortunately, they're not hitting it the way they should be hitting. The Fabulous Four have been like the Frightful Four, to be honest with you. The Fabulous Four. But the Yankee game, the Yankees were winning 6-0 and then 9-4, and they lost the game, and they lost to the Marlins. Point out something about the Marlins, they were only 2 games under 500. So they played fairly well. It's not a situation where they played poorly. But you don't normally lose 6-run leads and 5-run leads late in the game. And all the culprits that lost the game for the Yankees, all players on Friday that they all picked up on Thursday. The only guy that they brought in that had played well in that game was Ryan McMahon. Everybody else played like shit. And seeing the Yankee fans melt down. They've not stopped melting down, folks, since the great Juan Soto signed with the Mets. And I think they're beside themselves at this point. I don't feel sorry for them, but, whatever. That's from awful announcing. Michael Not Okay, and Paul O'Neill ranked the Yankees' worst loss of the year. Quote, you get to a point where you just can't make this up. The Yankee broadcasters were beside themselves, I guess, on Friday, not believing their eyes. Friday night's game against the Marlins wasn't simply a loss for the Yankees. It was a nightmare. Right. Calling the game for the Yankees on Yes was Michael Not Okay and Paul O'Neill, and they made that clear. Things started great for the Yankees, who opened up a 6-0 lead, and while the Marlins cut that to 6-4 in the 6th inning, the Yankees responded with 3 in the top of the 7th inning to go up 9-4. That's when things got really bad for the Yankees. Jake Bird, making his debut with the Yankees, recorded only 1 out before allowing a grand slam to Kyle Stowers. Boy, oh boy. At that point, Aaron Boone went to another new Yankee, David Bednar. I mentioned about Bednar. First of all, he's pitched poorly. He's got, in the last month or so, he's got an ERA over 7. Plus, he's never pitched in a big spot. He's never pitched in a pressure situation. For a big team. He's always been in Pittsburgh. You never know how these pitchers are going to perform when you put them in a big spot, especially when they're on a bad team for a long time. Bednar had historically struggled in Miami's Lone Depot Park, something Not Okay noted. O'Neill, though, suggested that maybe a change of uniform would fix the problem. One pitch later, he surrendered a game-tying homer. Well, there you go. That's great analysis right there. Let's put a different uniform on the guy, and then we'll see that. Michael Not Okay and Paul O'Neill and David Bednar at Lone Depot Park. Quote, he has a 7.04 ERA in 9 games and thrown right into the fire and now a nail-biting game. It's from Not Okay. O'Neill says this. He's got a different uniform on now, Mike. That's going to change his luck. It didn't change anything. Did not change a damn thing. The Marlins scored one more off of Bednar in the 7th, taking the lead. The Yankees, though, tied the game with Anthony Volpe when he homered. After Bednar's pitched a scoreless 8th inning. New York scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning to take a 12-10 lead. It was then time for Camilo Doval, another new acquisition, the former closer of the San Francisco Giants, to come on to close the game. It did not happen. When Doval retired the first hitter he faced, the next 2 men reached base with a single and a walk. Miami's Xavier Edwards then wrapped a single to right field. On behalf of the Yankees, it was not a complete disaster until Jose Cabrera, also making his debut for the Yankees, let the ball go under his glove. Javier Sonojo and Jacob Marseille both scored to tie the game for the Marlins, while Edwards got to third base. O'Neill and Kay could not sugarcoat what they saw. For Michael, you get to a point where you just can't make this up, O'Neill said. I mean, the ball gets by, the base hits, the runners are running. It's like a Little League game out there. This whole game, Paul, kind of has the feel of you're having a bad dream and you cannot wake up. Not Okay added later. This is funny. Because didn't have the Mets, thank God. Not yet. And it only got worse. Well, it only got worse. The next hitter, Augustin Ramirez, managed only a swinging bunt. The ball not even reaching the infield grass before Austin Wells could corral it. It went far enough, though, as Edwards crossed the plate without a serious tag attempt, scoring the winning run. Quote, it is hard to believe what we just watched. Oh, my goodness. What a loss for the Yankees, Not Okay said. All 3 relievers that the Yankees acquired, that were so touted that the Yankees acquired, they all did not do their jobs tonight. And then it ends this way in a game that the Yankees led 6-0, and we keep digging new holes, Paul. And this one goes under the worst loss of the year. Boy, that tells you, that sums it up. But here's the thing, when you have bad losses, there can be a worse loss down the line, even worse than this. I remember a game they had 2 years ago. Clay Holmes was pitching in the 9th inning. They had a 5-run lead. And Holmes blew it, and they just scored like crazy off of him. That happens. And it seems to happen to the Yankees down there, which is not a surprise. That happens with the Mets, too, when they go down to Miami. They have these problems. They really do. Now, here's the other side of this broadcast, and this is the Marlins side. They had some fun. Obviously, it's not a great situation down there. They have no fan base. All the fans that were there at the ballpark were Yankee fans, and they had to sort of endure this, which was great. And the announcer, Tommy Hutton, I guess is the broadcaster for Marlins, ripped into a Yankee fan, some sad Yankees fan. Headline from Awful Announcing again. Marlins announcer Tommy Hutton, savagely torn sad Yankees fan. Yankees had a mind-blowing collapse against the Marlins, and Tommy Hutton wasn't going to let them forget about it. Again, they don't have a fan base there. So all these other fans from all these other places come in, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Yankees, all the big fan base, the Braves, they all go down to Miami and they just take over the ballpark. So, these announcers, it probably irritates the announcers too, New York Yankees suffered a 9th inning collapse against the Marlins on Friday night, and analyst Tommy Hutton made sure to rub it in the face of the Yankees fans. Unsurprisingly, the Yankees had a lot of fans show up at the ballpark in Miami for their interleague series against the Marlins. After making multiple moves at the trade deadline, it appears that the franchise is going all in to chase down their elusive 28th World Series crown. However, the Yankees newbies got off to a rough start against the Marlins in a wild game, and we already talked about that. Obviously, Duvall pitched terrible, Bednar pitched terrible, Bird pitched terrible, Caballero pitched terrible, made a terrible play. On the Yes Network Yankees telecast, Michael Nadoke and Paul O'Neill were disconsolate, calling it the worst loss of the season. On the FanDuel Sports Marlins telecast, analyst Tommy Hutton was in full celebration mode, especially when he had the opportunity to stick it to one very sad Yankee fan that was caught by their cameras. I would never be like this at a ballpark, ever. Like this, or like this. It would drive me crazy if I was caught on camera. They caught me on camera acting like, somebody died. Word to the wise on anyone who wants to support the visiting team at the home ballpark: your surrender Cobra will likely be shown on television if that team suffers a choke job, and if you support a team that is often accused of serving bandwagon fans and frontrunners, then that percentage goes up 100%. The commentary from Tommy Hutton isn't only hilarious, though, it's legendary. The Miami Marlins have multiple World Series to their name, but they're always going to be seen as one of the smallest fishes in the Major League pond because of their propensity for blowing it up and lack of overall fan support. So to have this comeback against the Yankees team, a lot of their fans in attendance, was probably extra sweet for the home crowd and clearly the home announcers. I mean, really, you cannot, see, if you're a fan of a team, you guys have some restraint. You gotta show some respect to the ballpark and to the other fans. You don't do it. I've never done that. And the times I've gone to a different city to watch the Mets or go with family to watch the Yankees, I never wear Met colors, never. Out of respect, and I don't want the annoyance. I don't want anybody bothering me. Now I went to Philadelphia back in September, but I didn't wear any of my Mets gear because I knew I wasn't with anybody. I didn't have anybody go with me that day. I didn't want to have any problems, especially if I was by myself. Especially when I was walking back to my car. I didn't want there to be a problem. But it's funny to see Yankee fans suffer. It's great. It really is wonderful to watch it. They deserve it. This is going to be long suffering for them for a very long time. Everything is flipped. The script in New York is flipped. We expect big things from the Mets, and the Yankees are just sort of treading water, just in general sense. Now, they went to the World Series, but they weren't big teams last year in the American League. Now we'll see what happens this year. Hopefully the Tigers can get off the mat a little bit, and we'll see what happens with the Blue Jays. If the Blue Jays can hold on and win the division, it's gonna be an interesting finish with about 50 games left for all the teams. But you let me know what you think about this video, and of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut too, and I'll see you later.